Well, Valentine's Day is this weekend, and that means that traditionally it's a day for chocolates and cards and romantic gestures toward these special people in our lives. But where did the idea for this day come from? Here to talk about that is actually our faith contributor, John Longhurst. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So tell us about the religious origins of Valentine's Day.
Well, it certainly does have religious origins. In fact, the saint whose day we are marking on that Valentine's Day of love and romance and dinners and wine was beaten and beheaded. And that's why we remember him, because he gave his life for his faith. He was Saint Valentine, and he was a church leader in Rome in the 3rd century. And he was executed on February 14 for his faith in the year 270 by Emperor Claudius II. Because he refused to worship the emperor, which was required at that time. He refused to worship the emperor because Christians believed they should only worship Jesus and not the emperor. And that was seen as disloyalty to the empire. So he was executed, and about 200 years later, he was canonized by the Catholic Church. And February 14 was chosen as his official feast day, a day to remember his willingness to die for his faith in Jesus. Later, in later centuries, stories and legends arose about St. Valentine that led to the idea of romance and love. And one of them was that he defied the emperor's order that soldiers could not be married. He performed secret weddings. Another was that his jailer's daughter was blind, and he healed her, and he sent her a letter just before he died that said, "From your Valentine." So there we have it.
How did we go, though, from a historic Christian feast day to, the wide way that Valentine's Day is celebrated today?
So we have Geoffrey Chaucer to thank for that, the poet in England in the 14th century. He wrote a poem that linked St. Valentine's Day to courtly love. It was about birds choosing their mates on that day. And then we get into the 15th century, and then the first known Valentine is a romantic letter sent by a prisoner in the Tower of London to his wife in 1415. And then the practice of sending Valentines to your loved ones became more and more common and popular after that. By the 17th century, it was common for lovers to send each other tokens of affection on February 14. And by the 19th century, that's when commercial printing makes it possible to mass-produce cards to send these kinds of things in Victorian England. But that's also the time we get chocolate. And of course, what would Valentine's Day be without chocolate? That's when the Cadbury Company in England makes the first Valentine's-themed chocolates. But things really took off in the 20th century. That's when the Hall Brothers Printing in Kansas City realized that they could mass produce and make a lot of money by selling cards at Valentine's. Well, the Hall Brothers are Hallmark, which we now know today, which not only make cards, but make romantic movies as well. But those aren't the only businesses that make money and make a lot of business on Valentine's. There's those who sell chocolates and candy and flowers and jewelry and gifts and wine. There's even, and this isn't my taste, there's even a pickle bouquet.
Like dill pickles?
Yes, that you can order for Valentine's Day. So they've all found ways to monetize and commercialize the feast day of a saint who was beheaded. So there you go.
I actually know someone who would like that pickle bouquet.
There you go.
Valentine's Day today has been, as you've outlined, completely taken over, really, by secular society. Does anyone still remember its origins?
Yes. Some denominations, some churches still do. Roman Catholics, Anglicans, Lutherans, and Eastern Orthodox Christians, they still recognize it as a feast day, but it's a minor one. It's not a major one in the church's liturgical calendar. But the idea of love still, of course, permeates everything about Christianity, whether it's love for partners, for families, for society, for neighbors. It's the idea that Jesus is a supreme example of love, having given his life for humanity.
What about other religions then, John? Do they have anything similar to Valentine's Day?
A couple of them do, yes. So for Judaism, it's Tu B'Av, which is sometimes called the Jewish Valentine's Day. It's an ancient festival associated with matchmaking and marriage, and it's very popular in Israel. Meanwhile, Hindus have a festival celebrating Kama, which is their god of love, and it emphasizes love for family, community, and humanity. Other religions don't have anything like this. Buddhism and Islam, for example, don't have any specific day devoted to romantic love or anything like that. Rather, they emphasize love for partners, family, and others all year round.
And what other religious days have been taken over by society? I imagine there are some.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And let's start with Christmas. That's the most obvious one, right? With its gifts and trees and lights and Santa. But then there's Easter with its bunnies and chocolate and eggs. And of course, we have All Hallows Eve on October 31, which is literally the evening before All Saints' Day, which is the day when the church has historically remembered all the saints who have died, been martyred because of their faith. And of course, we know it as Halloween, and that's when we trick or treat. And let's not forget St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is a day when some people like to drink and celebrate all things Irish. But of course, it was originally created to honor the saint who brought Christianity to Ireland. But there are a few special Christian feast days that have escaped commercialization, and they haven't been able to be monetized for any reason. That would include things like Epiphany and Pentecost, Ash Wednesday, and Good Friday, although on Good Friday we all appreciate a day off from work. But unlike Valentine's Day, nobody's figured out a way to make money off them yet.
All right, John, thanks for the column this week.
Thank you.